feet by kicking very rapidly. You don't want to have a big undulation with your feet because that causes a certain amount of drag. If you keep it tight and powerful, you're able to maintain the velocity that you've created coming off the wall, as well as streamlining. That will really help out.
Off of turns, I think maybe the first stroke was used to regain the feel and the rhythm of the stroke.
The breaststroke push-off is a totally different story. Off of the start and every turn, the breaststroker does an underwater pull-down before coming up for the first stroke.
In the underwater pull-down, the basic motion is the same thing in the butterfly. Your hands come apart from the streamline and do a butterfly stroke. The key thing to keep in mind is you want to look straight at the bottom, because as soon as you start moving your head, it's the same thing as in the stroke. Your body is going to follow, and you want to stay perfectly straight and streamlined.
You try and use the momentum so you glide a little bit in a streamlined position. When you feel yourself start to slow down, then you take the pull, and then you're streamlined with your arms at your side. This is a real awkward moment because your arms are by your waist, and you need to bring them up and get them back up to the front of your stroke again somehow. So you keep, I actually creep my hands up, like up my torso and my chest, and then I cross my hands underneath my chest. And the way I learned to keep my hands in is I'd actually tap my forehead with my palm when I came back up. The kick of your legs occurs just as the arms are being extended out in front of your stroke, and you pop up to the surface of the water.
For anyone who wants to compete, perfecting the technique of the start is the easiest way to get ahead of the competition right from the start.
If you have a crummy start, if you have a good start, it takes just as much energy. So if you have a good start, you're just that much ahead of your competition.
For the freestyle and butterfly, the starts are very similar except for the glide and kick phase under the water. Breaststroke 2 is much the same except that the start tends to arc a little higher through the air and plunge deeper into the water to prepare for the underwater pull.
I want to feel like my toes are comfortably over the side of the block and feeling good, feeling balanced.
I try to curl my toes around the blocks immediately and get a nice even start. Take your mark. I come down. I'm very relaxed in my shoulders and my head. My knees are slightly bent. And I like to look straight down because I'm more relaxed in that position.
I try to just only focus on one thing, and that's hearing the gun go off. I used to think of it as that's one of the easiest places to beat people because, you know, if you're the same, if you swim at the same speeds as your competitor and you can beat them into the water, then you've got one up on them.
When I'd hear the gun go off, my entire body would tense, and I would crouch down into, my knees would crouch down, and then I would explode out from the blocks, throwing my arms out in front of me, because the body will follow, just like in the stroke, the body will follow what the head and the arms do.
A breaststroker likes to pike up a little bit more so they get through that same hole and get a nice long pull. Unlike freestyle, you don't want to pike too much. I always like to, I'd rather be a little flat on my start in freestyle than too much of a pike, because too much of a pike will make you go a little bit too deep on your start. In freestyle, you don't want to go deep because you don't have that luxury of that pull out.
So you'd be pushing and throwing yourself up and out, and then right at the extension of your start, you'd like to lower your hands and lower your head. So that's going to start your downward motion towards the surface of the water.
Then I point my arms down to the water, and my head is tucked between my arms, and my body naturally follows and slips right into the water.
What I try to do on my entry is really concentrate on streamlining the entries. So you want to be in the tightest streamline possible so you can zip through the water as quickly as possible.
So where your hands hit, your head hits, your hips hit, and your feet go in as well. So you want to think about diving through, you know, a hole and entering through all parts of your body. Want to enter through that same point.
The legs are going through that hole, but you're already starting to reach forward, so you're getting kind of a bend in your body as you kind of accelerate into that hole and through it.
A lot of swimmers can get to where they get off the block quickly and they have good enough legs that they get decent height and they get a nice entry, but so many of them, after they get into the water, just relax and they let their hands come apart, they lift their head up, do a number of things that decelerate them immediately. And you have to enter the water in a streamlined position and know how to maintain a streamlined position through the glide phase, and then when to break out of that phase. Don't allow yourself to slow down below racing speed.
The same exact principles apply to the backstroke start, except that the start is done from the front of the blocks, in the water, and the entry is done on one's back rather than one's front.
In the backstroke start, you don't want to be tucked into the wall too tightly. I mean, you really want to try and keep that 90-degree angle in your leg when you're doing the start. When you're grabbing the starting blocks and you pull yourself up, is just keep your butt out. Keep the back side sticking out of the water and not too far in. So by having it out far enough and up high enough, it'll allow you to react quickly, not be all bunched up, and also you won't get the resistance by being stuck in the water. The power from your arms and the power from your upper body, including your head, all combined together is critical. You actually release your hands and your head before you release your legs. You still want to go through that same hole in the water. You don't want to land with your arms in one spot, your head in another spot, and your feet and behind in another spot, where you can lose a lot of forward momentum by hitting the water at all different points of your body instead of just going through one hole. And as you arch your back off the start, you go in through the hole and then you arch the other way. If you don't react, you're just going to go straight down. But right away, as soon as you go in, you want to begin your dolphin kick.
The underwater phases for each start are treated in the same manner as the push-off from the wall. Pay special attention to streamlining and kicking underwater. In the case of the breaststroke, be sure to maintain your momentum off the start, through your underwater pull, and into your first stroke. Workouts are the key to swimming no matter what level athlete you are. To train consistently, it takes dedication, toughness, and a strong will to be your best.
Workouts, it's a catch-22. I love the feeling I had after a practice. After a really good practice of just tearing myself up. I love that feeling. I just hated it while I did it.
When you're training for year in and year out, there are some really bad times when you really hate it. And you've got to see the light at the end of the tunnel in order to get through them. So I guess my psychology of training was that I would always use a meat out there as kind of like the carrot dangling in front of my nose.
There seem to be two things that get people to train pretty hard. One is motivation and a goal, and the other is insecurity. But the great swimmers don't want to train out of insecurity because it's often you overtrain. The people who have a goal will train. You can have a goal that you realize that a certain quantity, a certain amount of time in training is going to give you a level of fitness that you wish, or a certain body composition that you wish to have.
When you compete, there's a lot of emotion involved in it. And one, I think emotion allows you to bring out performances that you wouldn't otherwise be able to. And it's that emotional element that makes it so fun. And I talked about goals. You got to have a goal to be able to train to be a competitor.
People sometimes, think that training is something that's real exciting, that like it's some sort of Rocky movie or something where the music gets going and there's some coach there for every step of the way and that you're feeling great and the adrenaline's pumping and, that's not what training's all about. You're tired and you're hurting and you're cold and you can't see anything, you can't talk, and it's just not like a Rocky movie.
I think you gain a tremendous amount if you keep giving 100% mentally. I mean, if you give up mentally in a practice because of the pain, I would say you almost have to consider that practice as being a failure. And not because you swam slow, because mentally you gave up and let the pain win.
The thing you have to do, really, I think, with training is just never get down on yourself. Because if you're going to have bad workouts, and there are going to be days when you're just gone, there's nothing you can do about it.
I never realized when I was younger that I was accepting or that I had a high tolerance for pain. I mean, I didn't realize that I was putting my body through more pain than the swimmer next to me. And I figured everyone worked that hard.
You can't be lazy, not in our sport. It won't allow you to be. Only the most gifted swimmers in the world, which I can count on one hand, could probably afford to be a little lazy. And even then, they take their chance.
If you're going to swim sloppy in workout, you're going to swim sloppy in races. And that even though oftentimes I was working extremely hard, always, at the least in the back of my mind, I was thinking about technique.
You get the question every day, what makes you better, and about the pain. Yeah, I think I learned that by concentrating on the little things when you start getting tired can make a big difference.
And I really think you have to practice and work out like you're going to practice in a meet. You push off the wall streamlined, you don't breathe off the turns. You know, you're really disciplined. And so you want to do that to the point where it becomes automatic.
And there were even times where I cried when I didn't have a good workout. And I don't think that's right, but I think it really shows how emotionally and I was tied up in the sport and how it was everything I wanted.
So whenever I was given a set, I thought, how is this going to improve my swim down the road? And I'm always able to connect it somehow with that goal down the road.
A serious competitor will always look forward to the pressure of competition. Oftentimes, the difference between winning and losing is a simple matter of who wants it more. Part of competition is physical preparation, but the final edge is always mental toughness.
I consider competition as the celebration of everything that you've been doing. I look forward to the time when you can go to the big meet, you see all your friends, and you get a chance to, to lay it on the line and perform in a sense, celebrate all the hard work that you've done.
When I was younger, every night I'd go to bed dreaming about being at a swimming race. And I can't tell you whether or not I won a lot of those races, but I remember loving or dreaming about being at the race and, being on the block and how fun that was, how exciting that was.
There's so much mental training we can do in terms of visualizing times, visualizing pace, visualizing winning, visualizing, everything that goes with winning.
I did a lot of natural visualization. I would be like walking through campus or whatever, and I would suddenly realize that for like the last 5 minutes, all I'd been thinking about was like the feeling of the stroke or a competition.
Visualizing my time on the scoreboard, visualizing the finish that I wanted to have, and that's what finally really worked for me.
I would improve oftentimes via visualization. So I would try something, one day, and I couldn't do it right, I couldn't do it right, and it would drive me nuts. And I'd come home from workout and I'd be all irritated at myself that I couldn't do it. So my mind would kind of go into overdrive during the night, and then I'd find the next day that I could do it. So visualization was always a real key to my swimming in general, and then also to competitions.
So by the time the major competition rolls around, you are able to let your body take over. You're in this sort of zone of performance that I feel is very special. I love the feeling in a major competition of being in a race and not being aware of anything around me.
So total concentration, I think, is real good to have. And that's hard to do sometimes, especially at a competition when everybody's cheering and, you're on the edge and ready to go.
Try and think that you've done more work than anybody else, or that you're better than everybody else. I guess that's a little bit cocky, but if you don't think that way, then you get beat, probably.
I hated to lose. It just made me so angry when I lost. I found a way to rechannel my energy into this anger or frustration from losing into the next race, and really using all this energy that I haven't had inside me to win.
Competition, it's a great experience. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, especially fun to win.
Competitive swimmers at all levels share these feelings of excitement, nervousness, and anticipation. Win or lose, competition is a great way to show off your hard work.
We're not professionals per se, but we commit the same amount of time and effort that a professional does, that it has to become part of your soul. You think about it so often that it goes into your subconscious and it becomes a part of you.
I was always your typical 98-pound weakling with the sand kicked in your face, and I think swimming just helped me grow mentally, emotionally. It proved that I was worth something.
Swimming has something to offer everyone. In this tape, Advanced Technique from the Fast Lane, we have explored techniques common to the realm of competitive swimming. If you train diligently, implementing the instructions of this tape into your workouts, soon you will see a noticeable difference in your speed, your health, and your overall enjoyment of the sport.
You know, over the course of a career in swimming, you experience what a lot of people don't experience in a lifetime.
To further expand your knowledge of swimming mechanics, watch our first tape, Basic Technique from the Fast Lane. Or pick up our second video, Basic Training from the Fast Lane, to refine your workout skills.
I'd like to, in my own way, give something back to swimming.